What's up, everybody? This is the Tied to the Land podcast, where we believe that everybody is tied to the land in some way, shape, or form. On this podcast, we'll explore the intimate connection that people feel with the land beneath their feet, while telling the stories of folks whose lives have been impacted by their roots to the rural lifestyle. This podcast is brought to you by Arrowhead Land Company, where their mission is to create, inspire, or advance a connection to the land in every person throughout the world. All right, guys. So we got the first ever Tied to the Land podcast episode coming at you. And really what I wanted to do is get on here and just talk about what this podcast is going to be about, what it's going to represent, who we're going to have on here, and really how you can maybe benefit from listening to our podcast. So I believe, and we believe, that everybody is tied to the land in some way, shape, or form. And if you have land or you own land already, there's a reason for it. If you don't, you want to own it or you wish you could. And maybe there's a third demographic of people you could argue that they've never been exposed to the land, and so land ownership's never really crossed their mind, right? And what we're going to do in this podcast is we're going to highlight the beauty of land ownership. We're going to highlight the freedom that stems from land ownership. And so we're going to have people on here who talk about their ties to the land and how the land has essentially impacted and shaped their lives, right? People from all types of backgrounds who have all types of interests, hobbies. Everybody's driven differently, right? So in our world, we run into a lot of farmers, ranchers, hunters, but there's all kinds of people out there who appreciate the land for other reasons. You know, maybe it's they enjoy going to the beach. Maybe it's they enjoy going to the lake. Maybe they want to have honeybees. Maybe they want to have a garden. Maybe they want to be self-sufficient. Whatever it may be, we want to highlight those stories. We want to bring emphasis to the great things that come from land ownership. And so on this podcast, if you'll join us, we're going to tell you all about how to own land, but more importantly, really why we own land and why we believe it's important that other people should strive for land ownership. And, you know, with that being said, land ownership is, of course, a great avenue, but there's a lot of people out there who are tied to the land, and they utilize our public lands, they utilize our parks, they utilize other avenues for getting or for scratching that outdoor itch, so to speak. And so what we're going to do is just bring those stories to life and build a community here that revolves around being on the land and our ties to it, and just really how it shapes us and molds us as humans. So my name's Andrew Schultz, and I'm going to tell you about why I'm tied to the land. I was exposed to the outdoors at a pretty young age, not as young as some folks, but probably around junior high age. I got to go on some of my first deer hunts with my dad and, you know, with some buddies. We had some family friends who owned 40 acres, and I thought 40 acres was just amazing. I didn't know that people owned thousands of acres. You know, I was brand new to the concept of land ownership, and from the moment that I stepped foot into the outdoors and got to experience hunting and the rural lifestyle and just the culture that revolves around hunting and spending time in the outdoors, I was hooked. I mean, so I can remember being in high school, playing in a football game on a Friday night under the lights, running back home to shower and pack up my hunting stuff so that I could, you know, go to these folks' property the night before. They were fortunate. They lived on their property, and that was really the only way I ever knew when I first got started hunting and being in the outdoors. And of course, I had fished, you know, with my family, my dad, my papa at the time. It just starts to shape you no matter how you're exposed to it. And so what was fishing turned into hunting, and hunting turned into just a plethora of opportunities, and really it started to shape and mold my lifestyle more than I knew it. I believe in God, and I believe that God created all the land in the world for us to enjoy and for us to utilize. You think about where our food comes from. You think about fish and rivers and oceans, and you think about just plant life and all the beauty of what God has provided for us here on this earth. It's really, truly amazing when you stop and look around. And in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, or if, maybe you live in the concrete jungle, maybe you just don't get exposed to those types of things until you get to feel that dirt beneath your feet. I don't know that you ever really will appreciate it. And so not only are we committed to telling those stories, but we're also committed to sharing our resources, our outdoor lifestyle with those around us, because that's really what it comes down to, right? How can somebody experience the outdoors the way we have if they haven't been given that chance? And so what we plan to do is share our lifestyle, share our stories, share the things that have impacted us intimately over the course of our lives, and just really try to bring awareness to what the land can do for your life, what it can do for your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health. There's just so many benefits that come from being out on the land. And when I think about my fondest memories or some of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my entire life, it's been when I was in the outdoors. And so with that being said, I hope that y'all will tune in. I hope that you guys will enjoy what we have here. This is going to be a work in progress, but we've got a lot of great things coming. We're going to bring some great people on here. A lot of the Arrowhead Land Company agents are going to be sitting down with us talking about how they got into the real estate business, the rural real estate business specifically, and really what that's done for their families, their bank accounts, and really just their overall well-being. So join us, tune in, and we look forward to sharing all of this with you.